Hello everyone and welcome once again. In this video, we are going to continue with the chapter Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Well, let us now have a quick recapitulation of what we did in the previous video. The author was complimented by his daughter Zinani on his big day. Foremost, the two vice presidents took an oath. Thereafter, he committed to respect, safeguard, and abide by the Constitution and to dedicate himself to the welfare of the country. He said that everyone by his presence was giving rise to hope for a new commencement. Earlier, leaders were biased and prejudiced and lost it for years. But the ones who are given the opportunity to rule now, the African National Congress, would stand up against this discrimination. Earlier, South Africa, for practicing apartheid, had lost all its international political relationships. And now, when there is no discrimination on the basis of race and gender, other nations are happy to have healthy democratic relationships. Well, he gracefully thanked everyone, especially the international leaders, for joining them in celebrating their achievement, which is a step towards an equal society where every human will be treated fairly. He mentions that after great struggle, they have finally achieved political freedom. His government promised to free everyone of the still existing poverty, hardship, and inequalities of all kinds, along with assuring everyone of a country where no community will be considered inferior. He then exclaims that freedom should rule and may God shower his blessings on their motherland. And now the text. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Nkosi Sikhili Africa and blacks singing Die Stem, the old anthem of the Republic, although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised. They would soon know the words by heart. And now the explanation. It says that after a few moments, the newly elected president's address to the audience, an impressive arrangement of fighter jets, helicopter, and soldier transporters raised everyone's heads up in the sky. It symbolized perfection as well as military respect and obedience towards the free country. The high commanders who have won medals for their bravery also saluted and promised their loyalty. Mandela mentions that he was well aware that these commanders who were now saluting him would have arrested him under the previous rule, as during the domineering white supremacy he was considered to be a criminal. The air show finally finished by creating of the South African flag in the sky from the smoke of the jets. Mandela remembers the day as the playing of two national anthems of the country. The first was of the whites and the other of the blacks. On that day, no one knew the lyrics of the anthem of the blacks, but Mandela was confident that everyone would soon learn this anthem, and that was actually hated by them. And now back to the text. On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up the difference and erected a system of racial discrimination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples, regardless of the color of their skin. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my peoples, people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. And now the explanation of the text. On the day of the inauguration, Mandela was remembering the days of past when this whole system of apartheid emerged. It resulted in inequality and inferior treatment of dark-skinned people, and they were deprived of their basic fundamental rights. As a result, one of the world's most brutal and inhuman society was born. This began even before he was born. This system created an atmosphere of extreme cruelty and injustice for a particular part of the community. Now, when he is in his eighth decade as a man, he, along with countless others, have changed this entire system that treats humans as humans irrespective of their color, caste, gender, or age. This equal and free country was a result of sacrifices of countless other men and women who have fought all their lives for this day. The author wishes if he could thank them all, but unfortunately they didn't live to see the result of their courage. Nelson Mandela gathered his courage and power from all these people and thus wishes to make them gratified. And now some important and new terms that we have encountered in the text so far. The first word is awe, that means amazed, and spectacular means beautiful in a dramatic and eye-catching way. Array means an impressive display. Troop means soldiers or armed forces. Precision means accuracy. Bedecked means to decorate. Unmindful means not conscious or aware. Chevron, that means a pattern in the shape of a V, the letter V. Next is trail, means series, that means a chain. Now despised means hated, had a very low opinion of. Next is overwhelmed, means to have a strong emotional effect. Next word is erected, means to build or to construct. Racial domination means when people of one race have power over another race. And inhuman means being cruel or brutal, and overturned means reverse. And now some important points from the chapter so far. Just after the newly elected president's address to the audience, an impressive arrangement of fighter jets, helicopters, and soldier transporters raised everyone's heads up in the sky. It symbolized perfection as well as military respect and obedience towards the free country. The high commanders who have won medals for their bravery also saluted and promised their loyalty towards the country. Mandela mentions that he was well aware that these commanders who were now saluting him would have arrested him. Under the previous rule, as during the oppressive white supremacy, he was considered to be a criminal. Well, the air show finally ended by making of the South African flag in the sky from smoke of the jets. The author remembers the day as the playing of the two national anthems of the country, one of the whites and the other of the blacks. On the day of the inaugural ceremony, the author was remembering the days of past when this whole system of apartheid emerged. Now, when he is in his eighth decade as a man, he, along with countless others, have changed this entire system that treats humans as humans, irrespective of their color, caste, gender, or age. Mandela gathered his courage and power from all these people and thus wishes to make them proud. And now some questions from the textbook. Oral comprehension check. Question number 1. What do the military generals do? How has their attitude changed and why? Question number 2. Why were two national anthems sung? And number 3. How does Mandela describe the systems of government in his country? Number 1. In the first decade and number 2. In the final decade of the 20th century. These questions needs to be done in the notebook. Well, that's all in this video. Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. The concluding part of the chapter will be continued in the next video. Thank you.